For more than 20 years, I've traveled the world to communities both large and small. Most have called themselves smart cities, with the latest and greatest technology, smart parking, smart traffic, lighting, and transit. But I wanted more than just smart. I was looking for what made the community a great place to live, to work, to start a family, launch a business, and make room for the next generation. My question was, how smart is your city, really? Well, let's find out, here on Intelligence Test. What do you know about the American state of Ohio? Well, if you live on one of the two coasts of the US, you know it's a place you fly over to get from one to the other. If you're familiar with America's economic history, the word Rust Belt may come to mind. And that's because manufacturing employment, still its biggest economic sector, took such a huge hit from automation and globalization from the 60s well into the 1980s. But what you probably don't know is that there are in Ohio places like the city of Hilliard, home to some 37,000 people on the border of Columbus, the state capital. Now, this is a place where more than half the population holds a higher education degree, and where the biggest segment of the population is made up of millennials, born between 1981 and 1996. 80% of workers are in white-collar jobs, from government and manufacturing to finance, automotive, digital, healthcare, and media. In short, a model of small city innovation and growth on a technology foundation. Now, one big reason for this success is its educational system. Not colleges and universities, though they do play a role. I'm talking about the kindergarten through secondary school years. One other thing you probably don't know about Ohio is that it contains a community where the public school district has partners like Amazon Web Services, Apple Computer, Harvard, and Ohio universities, all to help their students gain the right skills and realize that they can put them to work there in the region. And that's one of many reasons that in 2025, ICF named Hilliard a Certified Intelligent Community. And to show us what that means, I'm pleased to welcome Mark Tremaine, who's the Director of Innovation and Extended Learning at the Hilliard School District, and David Meadows, Economic Development Director for the city. Guys, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So, Mark, let me start with you. I painted a very quick picture of the Hilliard School District as it exists today. Could you take us back 10 years or so and describe how the district was different?
Absolutely. Really appreciate being here today. The district in 2016 was a little bit smaller, not a lot, a bit smaller, a little bit smaller. We've grown about 1,000 students over the decade, but the population has shifted quite a bit. We are more diverse in terms of demographics. 64 different languages spoken in our community right now, which is wonderful. And it allows our students to realize the world is much, much bigger than Hilliard City Schools and our community. And they're able to connect with different people from different backgrounds and learn and grow with them. The opportunity, how we approach education is different too. In 2009, we had what we call the 2020 initiative, where we were preparing for what school would look like in 2020. And it was really trying to get students experiential opportunities, hands-on, minds-on learning, be able to leverage technology in a blended format, and engage with their learning and how they access, engage, and express that in a number of different ways. So I think the biggest change is our demographic diversity, socioeconomic diversity, but how we approach education in a personalized way is something that we're certainly proud of. As a result, we didn't have an innovation campus in 2016, and now we do. And we're serving over 1,600 students daily on an innovation campus, which, Robert, you were able to see. And it really allows students to experience higher education through a college credit plus format. We call it College Jumpstart, STEM and STEAM type of opportunities, and then also pathway programming in business, computer science, education and the like. So that's some of the big changes. But I would say more than anything, how we personalize education so students are ready for that next step. Our mission in Hilliard is ready for tomorrow, and we literally want that to be the next day, but also metaphorically at the end of the journey, are they prepared for a plan that meets their personalized needs, and we support them on every step of that journey.
Hmm. That's interesting. At ICF, of course, one of our mission fundamentally is to help other places figure out how to do something like you're doing in this particular area, as well as many others. So I'm always going to ask this question. You told us that 2020 was kind of pivotal in getting started. What were the milestones, that you can recall of this process? Because it's really hard to get something like this started and to get it
Yes.
to iterate in a positive way and not to get buried in some kind of silly dispute over something that nobody actually cares about. What are some of the major milestones you remember from this?
I think that one of the biggest things was the willingness of our central office staff to give up their building to be able to have an opportunity for students to use that space in a new and different way. And then we collaborated with the community, both higher ed, business and industry, community parents, and literally everybody. We had a group of people that came together and what should school look like in 2020? And then we worked towards doing that. The byproduct was that we gave up our central office, moved our central office into basically it's a warehouse, and we it looks great from the inside, but outside it looks like it's more of a commercial building or industrial building. But we gave that space to students, and they were able to showcase that this type of learning, the more experiential, the extended time, the block scheduling, allows for depth of knowledge and them to build portfolios of evidence of how they learn that can parlay into future opportunities as well.
Interesting. David, I want to turn to you because traditionally in economic development, the issue around local schools was mostly about whether investors or new companies thought their employees would be happy with the school system. I mean, it was about as basic as it got. When you're working with prospects today, how is the conversation on education different?
Well, it didn't start as cordial as it is today. At the time when I started back in 2017, a lot of school districts and cities in Ohio have tension, typically over the use of incentives that might defer some revenue to the school districts. So, a lot of school districts in the state of Ohio, just with the way the tax structure works, can have some tension. And that certainly was the case in Hilliard, a decade ago. But over time, just a different culture mindset really allowed us to look at the biggest asset we had in our community was our school district. And how do we better align, get more directly engaged with each other? And certainly it's from a business prospect perspective, wanting to make sure that people are moving into a community with an exceptional school district, which they have here, absolutely. But really looking at, we needed a way to differentiate ourselves. And we didn't have that. When I first started, I asked a council member, besides being part of the Columbus region, one of the fastest growing regions in the Midwest, and having land available, what's Hilliard's secret ingredient to competing against our peers? And didn't have a great answer. We had success because we were in a successful region and we had land. But we really needed to think about a way to position ourselves differently. And what we had here over time that we learned was we had a staff culture and a community culture of collaboration. We don't need to feel like a bureaucracy to our residents, our customers, and our businesses, and our partners that we have. We can be a community. And so most people that work in the city really embrace that idea that we can sit up at the front desk and help each other. And school district, exact same way. We're approachable. We're a pretty lean staff, but we're here to work with our community, not against. So what we were able to create here was a situation where Mark is the president of our Community Improvement Corporation. The school district invited me to be part of their school facilities master plan. We had a big site visit in January. with a corporate prospect, and I wanted Mark there. And it's because of the work that they do, both with businesses, but also just what they've done with the student experiential learning and what that represents in our community. It's just different here. When you come to Hilliard, it's not just a sales pitch. We're a community, and what we expect from the business side of things is that they're part of our community as well.
I remember, David, you telling me when I was visiting Hilliard to audit it about one of the companies that's engaged in the school system, where you basically went to them and said, listen, if you're going to be here, and yes, you're big and famous and powerful, but if you're going to be here, you actually have to be here. And I
Yep.
was very impressed by that. Um, Mark, back to you, because now David already said it. You are not only in this Director of Innovation and Extended Learning for the school district, you're also the head of the Hilliard Development Corporation, which makes innovation grants to businesses. Now, I've never, in my years of practice, run into this before. So how does that work?
Yeah, it's quite an honor to be a part of this organization and to see how it's transformed our community. When the economic development strategic plan was getting developed, David reached out to me and asked if I would be a member of the Economic Development Corp. So I was a board member, and then got to learn and see what this was accomplishing within the community. And then naturally, as people phase out of the leadership roles, I had the opportunity to be nominated and accepted without hesitation, because of what we're seeing physically, and then the experiences that our community members, including our students, are having. It's really unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this. I have different school districts throughout the state and really the country that are reaching out saying, how are you doing this? How do you have this relationship with your city? And I think that our strategic plans, they merged. When we were going through our strategic plan, we wanted workforce readiness. We wanted students to be ready for that next step. And having that relationship with the city, the organizations within the city, and understanding the goals. And when we can have that level of synergy, great things can happen. And so being a part of this and seeing these strategies, seeing what the city's trying to accomplish, you can see opportunity for kids. And that's what I get to see as well, and really give back in this way, but also learn a ton and then be able to connect with different people and really provide opportunities for students.
Okay, so what's the secret sauce? I don't, I still, I know you pretty well, I have to say. I admire the city. I love doing this particular podcast. Whose bright idea was this? How did it get picked up? The idea that we're going to stop thinking of education and economic development and everything else we do as separate little silos. We're going to cross over those lines from the get-go. The idea that you were invited to be on the Economic Development Board. Again, I haven't run into that before. David, I mean, Mark, how did this get started?
Before David says the wrong answer, it's him. He is the catalyst behind all of this. And when he was going through their economic development strategy, workforce development strategy, he connected with me. I got to understand what they were trying to accomplish, and there was that moment of like, we're trying to do the same thing. There is alignment here. How can we partner and find ways to really accelerate this? And at the very beginning, I was like, I don't know how we can do this, but there were some unique things happening simultaneously. The state of Ohio used to be the Ohio Department of Education, and now it's the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce. So there's certainly a workforce component of all of this. And when he was going through that strategic plan, I was uncovering that this is the pathway that Ohio is going, and we can join forces and do some amazing things together.
Okay, David, so now that you can't give the wrong answer, what do you have to say?
So, I mentioned when I started here that politically it was tense. We still had a strong mayor form of government, and the Hilliard Development Corporation was not a community improvement corporation, an agent of the city. It was its own private development corp. And that was where I met the previous superintendent, and he was on that board. And they had done that as candidly as a political maneuver to try to keep some city council members from intervening and trying to get in the way of what they were doing. But they weren't funded. They weren't really doing a lot. So I came in kind of without any baggage. I don't know any of these relationships. And as far as I'm concerned, if we're going to be successful, we need to be able to work together. So it's opening up that lid of transparency. It's understanding that these are just tools to accomplish the objectives that, four of the seven council members established for us. It's not to work, in counter to what their vision is. We wanted it to be together. So just over time, it just saw the importance, especially with where we were as a community, of really trying to mend and repair relationships. It didn't need to be adversarial because why can't our biggest strength as a community, which is our school district, be our biggest strength as an economic development unit? And we're only as strong as our partners. So it was very intentional. I really loved having the superintendent involved at the time. But it was still tense. And so over time, we gained trust of our elected officials, and it wasn't always easy, but we were committed really with the structure when we did incorporate it as an agent of the city, that we were going to have at-large appointees, not just city staff members. And we have some exceptional board members on HDC that range from somebody who is a serial entrepreneur to corporate executive, but always wanted to have the school district be part of it, because the school district really is what's creating this next generation of workforce. And Mark mentioned that we kind of tied our plans together, but it's even deeper than that, because we even adjusted our program guidelines for our innovation grant to allow expenses for workforce development initiatives if they partner with the school district. So that was, prior to us starting this bigger internship program, but we really want to be intentional about if we're going to have a partnership, if we're going to advance something, we're all in. And that just be how the parties have come together. I don't have any concern at all ever inviting Mark to a meeting. I think he's a tremendous asset. Could not be, Mark gives me a lot of applause, but what he has done, just showing me the potential of the collaboration with the school district is phenomenal. So just could not have been a better relationship with the team that they have in place, but the community that we have behind us.
Interesting. When I was there last, again, for that audit, one of the things I had the privilege of doing, Mark, thanks to you, was to meet a bunch of young people who are your first set of interns. Some are interns from secondary school, to spend time at City Lab. Now, I visited a few places with that name, but never one quite like that. So could you talk a little bit about, that internship program? And David, maybe you can chime in terms of how this thing fits into your economic development strategy.
David, I think an overview of City Lab from your perspective, and then I'll talk about how we've grown the program and how those first group of students, what we call them opportunity ambassadors now, because they're recruiting the next batch of students. So David, I'll kick it to you first.
Sure. The Cliff Notes version of Hilliard City Lab was really, we had built a fiber optic network like a lot of our communities had. And we were fortunate at the time that a group of people that had started the Center for Design and Manufacturing Excellence at Ohio State wanted to spin out and basically create their own private accelerator incubator. And a lot of communities in Ohio that have invested in incubators do it at a pretty significant loss. It ends up being subsidized real estate where startups aren't growing and moving out. They're just staying there because there's a lot of resources that exist, but they're not achieving what we really want to see, which is outward growth, like into our community. So we kind of had the perfect storm. We had this incubator space with a bunch of engineers that can not only work with startups and entrepreneurs, but also with existing businesses to engineer and design new technologies for other businesses. So we started providing funding to purchase some shared equipment that businesses could take advantage of. We connected our fiber optic network, and then we just started collaborating on projects together. Started with our police department, and we built out a virtual air traffic control system for autonomous drone operations. And then the city, on their behalf applied for a waiver through the FAA. So it just started this whole avalanche of collaboration where we realized, hey, the deeper we get into this partnership, the more successful it has become. And then just through word of mouth, the exposure that we had even within the region, and then now, of course, internationally with this ecosystem. And our boss at the time kind of beat over our heads that we're doing a lot of great things with this partnership, but our IT director, Dwayne Powell, and I are not good at marketing. So she came up with the term Hilliard City Lab, which basically just says that the city is an open laboratory for testing and validating new ideas. And we do that in three ways. It's access to our infrastructure, access to our funding through our innovation grant, but it's also access to our people. And our people are really anybody in the ecosystem. So that could mean some of our businesses, or it could be even city staff members testing out technology and giving feedback in real time to businesses as they prototype. And along with that, we realized that one of the biggest components of people is the school district, not just from a workforce development perspective, but even thinking through as a city when we're thinking about making a city to be attractive for people to want to stay and be part of it. When we are maybe middle-aged and making all the decisions on what's fun, probably not the best idea to identify. And so we just kept finding more and more reasons to get together and collaborate. Mark helped us out with our city ambassadors having his team, his students coming out and helping with a competition to evaluate what we could do for repurposing a water tower in our downtown. So it's that level of collaboration that just kind of was organic with just the overall partnership, but then understanding a lot of the buzzwords that a school administrator might use that I don't know, and vice versa for Mark with economic development. Just seeing how those goals really align, particularly on the workforce development objectives that the school district has to meet. And then our businesses, because of the City Lab initiative, it's both startups and existing major employers have kind of melded into this ecosystem where we might meet for coffee as a group, and then one of our larger companies might partner with one of our startups, and one of the startups might have some of these interns, and then some of these interns might get picked up as a full-time job, and then it's kind of rinse and repeat, and they become part of this ecosystem, and they realize they can do it here. They don't have to move away after college.
Exactly. The mayor, he's no longer mayor, but the mayor of the city of Curitiba in the Brazil, and he was in that office, had a wonderful quote. He said, "Innovation only has value when it becomes a social action." And I thought that's a great, your project is a great example of that. So Mark, now to come, we've been up on the macro level, now to come down to the issue of these opportunity ambassadors, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's scaled. You met a few of the first ones, and they've done phenomenal things. They've all graduated and all attending higher ed, and we're able to parlay that experience as an intern into some scholarship opportunities. That authentic experience becomes something they can put on a resume that can be a catalyst for another opportunity. And so that was a phenomenal first experience. We were able to engage them. They went on really a tour of Ohio. They were talking to different chambers of commerce, explaining this situation and the opportunity that they had. And then we were able to go to different school districts to share. They presented to different boards and things like that. This year, Robert, we are excited to say that we have more than quadrupled the size of the internship program at Hilliard City Lab. And then we have different interns throughout different organizations throughout the region, not just Hilliard, but certainly in Hilliard and beyond in the Columbus area. And it's been awesome. These experiences for kids, the authentic opportunities that kids can have being with experts, it's a win-win. They're able to bring an energy and an excitement. David highlighted the students being judges for their innovation ambassador competition with the water tower. That was something that they really love. They've never been in a position like that, but then they're able to talk about that, and that becomes something that is meaningful, that opens up their eyes to new opportunities. Today, we have a team of people that are planning. We're getting ready to launch the Hilliard City Lab internship program on Monday. We've been meeting throughout the last several months, getting this ready to go, and the students are certainly excited. We've got a dynamic group of students that are ready to engage with all the businesses under that ecosystem and then beyond within the city of Hilliard, and they are super excited. And I think what the biggest thing for me is that they get to be in with experts in the field. It opens up their eyes to so many different things. They're going to be engaging with TechLink and some patent opportunities, and they're looking at how to make things better. And to me, you talked about the definition of innovation. If innovation begins and ends with empathy. And I think as we look to solve problems, we need to do that to make our world, our community better. And so there's no better way than to be able to do that alongside of students that have this energy and excitement to give back and to add value in their community. And this is something we're certainly excited about.
Ladies and gentlemen, in Silicon Valley, there's some words to remember. Innovation begins with empathy. I love it. So listen, gentlemen, unfortunately, that's all we have time for. But wow, what a great privilege this has been to hear from the inside things I've had the joy of watching. So thank you very much for sharing all that with us. It's a story that people can see for themselves, by the way, if they attend ICF's Global Summit in the Columbus region from October 13 to 15. So if you're interested in that, check icfsummit.com. Guys, I look forward to seeing you both there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Many cities and regions look to ICF to help them accelerate. We offer a strategic framework they can adapt to their unique needs. We can assess where they stand today and their potential for progress. And we offer economic and community development services to support them along the way. You can learn more about all of that at intelligentcommunity.org. While you're there, check out the detailed profile of Hilliard by clicking on the network menu. There's a great deal more to the story. You can also explore having ICF certify your city or region as an intelligent community. Just visit icfcertification.com for details. Intelligence Test is back next month with more exploration of what it takes to make a city or region succeed in this hyper-accelerating digital century we all were born into. For ICF, this is Robert Bell.